Hi everyone, in this video we are going to discuss the confidence levels established by the IPCC, otherwise known as the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So essentially what they did is this group of scientists came together and they developed a number of different terms to express the probability that a result is true. So let's graph this out together. So we're going to start off with one column of terms or phrases, and then we're going to rank that versus the probability that the result is true. And this is often done in percentages. Okay, so the first term, which is the best term, is virtually certain. So when they say something is virtually certain, they're saying that there's a greater than 99% chance that whatever result they're talking about is true. Now, if we go down a peg from that, we would say that they could be very certain. And if they are very certain, then they're saying there's a 90 to 99% chance that the probability that the result is true. The next one would be likely. And if something is likely to be true, it's a 66 to 90% chance. Underneath likely is medium likelihood. I like that one for some reason. Medium likelihood. And they're not really positive when something is medium likelihood. So that's 33 to 66% chance true. If something is unlikely, then they're saying it's anywhere between 10 to 33% true. And then the last one is very unlikely. And if something is very unlikely, they're saying it's a 1 to 10% chance of being true. So the two terms we need to be very, very comfortable with is virtually certain. And the reason why I want you to know virtually certain is because that's the term they have right now on saying that human causes have increased our global warming. Okay, so they are virtually certain that it's definitely due to human causes. And the other term we need to look at is very unlikely, because they say that it's very unlikely that our global warming is due to natural causes. Okay, so those are our two terms right now set by the IPCC on our global warming. So let me ask you a question to see if we understand this. So let's say we have 8 out of 10 scientists agree that a result is true. What term would they use? Go. All right, did you get an answer? Hopefully you did. And so all you had to do was come up with a percent. So if 8 out of 10 scientists think it's true, that would be 80%. So you go up here to our chart and see that 80% would actually fit into the likely category. And so the term they would use would be likely. Okay? All right, so now what we want to do is talk about what the IPCC did, or in the open letter that they sent out essentially to everyone here. It was an open letter. And they basically said we have 7 things we need to seriously think about when we're ignoring all of this global warming information. So it's essentially 7 other things that are happening aside from the fact that our temperature's increasing. So let's go through these one by one. The first one is that we have sea ice disappearance. And there's 2 things we want to talk about with this. So what we're seeing is that our sea ice is melting, is specifically our summer sea ice. It's actually decreased by 40%. And so the reason that's a bad thing is because our albedo is going down. So if you remember, albedo is just a reference for saying that of our relative of our reflected radiation versus our incident radiation. So if our sea ice is disappearing, that means that we are no longer reflecting as much radiation that we used to, and we're actually absorbing more radiation from our sun, which means that we're actually having an overall warming effect. So that's a really big problem. The next thing they talk about is that our sea level is rising. This is a big issue for 2 main reasons. The first one is that we're having a lot of coastal erosion. So we're just actually seeing a decrease in land. We're having erosion, the soil and the land is going into the ocean, and we're actually seeing just like a decrease of coastal area, which is really sad. The bad thing is this is actually making hurricanes and cyclones stronger. I don't know about you, but these hurricanes are plenty strong enough. The last thing we need is to give them a little bit more power. So sea level rising is not a good thing. Number 3, we also talk about more extreme weather. And so we can talk about this just in Austin here alone in the last couple years. So first of all, we've seen the wildfires in Bastrop for about 3 years ago. We have insane wildfires that's happening all over the planet. And we also are seeing more floods, more droughts, and more storms. So in Austin alone, this year in 2015, we have had such insane flooding. I actually had to walk through a flood, like running water, just to get to my car when I was leaving my office here. I was holding an old lady's hand and I was pulling her through it, and we just made sure we got there together. But we have been in a drought for years and years and years, and all of a sudden we've had so much rain we can barely handle it. So the more extreme weather is definitely happening. Number 4, we are changing our ocean chemistry. And so here's the big thing. When we have carbon dioxide dissolve into water, it creates carbonic acid. And so that is going to change the pH of the water, and it's going to get more and more acidic. And that is eventually going to really mess up a lot of the wildlife that lives within the oceans. And so those little organisms, they're just in trouble because they can't handle that pH, which is a big problem. Number 5, we're going to see a loss of biodiversity. And so our scientists right now are predicting that we're going to see 20% more extinctions in the next few years here. So 20% of our planet life is just going to decrease. We're going to see animals die out just because they can no longer survive in these conditions, which is really sad. Number 6, we're also going to see a loss of freshwater sources. And so basically what this one is saying is that our glaciers are melting. And so if our glaciers are melting, we're no longer going to have as many freshwater sources, which is a big, big problem. Last thing, which should probably be one of the first things, is we're definitely going to see a difference in our human health. And so my best example for this is that right now in Pakistan, we have seen 1,400 people die because they have had such an extreme heat wave. It is so hot that they cannot physically cool themselves, and over almost 1,500 people have died because of this. And so we're not going to just die because carbon dioxide is in the air now. We're going to die because of all of these other things. And so it's a big problem. And so hopefully I've convinced you that global warming is real and we definitely need to take it seriously. Have a great week, guys. Take care of yourselves. Drink lots of water.